What's going on, everybody? David here from Bluckers Videos and Toys, and today we are going to be checking out the Jurassic World Rebirth Lab Lockdown Tyrannosaurus Rex by Mattel. Now, this is a pretty sweet figure. A lot of people that have this figure say it's probably the best T-Rex figure that Mattel has done so far when it comes to the basic line. And so far, they're not wrong, from what I can tell. So, let's go ahead and take a look at this mangled up packaging. And I think I got this like maybe a couple weeks before the movie released, or maybe a week before. I can't remember. But I did get this before the movie came out, whenever its initial release was. I think it was like maybe a month before the movie came out. But I never did get a chance to review it up until now. So we are going to actually finally take a look at this thing. So, like I said, we're going to look at this mangled up packaging, and then we'll take the figure out and go from there. Alright, so this is your basic medium-sized dinosaur packaging. Usually the other ones are a little bit smaller, but it's pretty much the same style packaging. You know, it's open window. You got to insert the tail in and everything. So it says right there, "Try me." So you just press down the button, and then, of course, you know, it opens up the jaw and everything. But it doesn't roar or anything like that. It also has the ages 4 and up. That's me. And, of course, you got a couple of pictures here with the T-Rex open jaw opening, and then it's letting you know that it's 46 plus centimeters, which essentially means 18 plus inches. So, and then here you have the Jurassic World Rebirth logo right there, Lab Lockdown Tyrannosaurus Rex, and you got the Rex right there. Of course, you know that's not Rex anymore. So, and then you have the Mattel logo right there. Of course, you know, it's, like I said before, it's open style packaging, and you could tell that this is pretty much the same packaging as all the other basic packaging when it comes to the figures, especially when it comes to the land creatures. So, pretty much you got your red striping there, then you got your black striping and a little bit of red there, along with the rest of the black there, and then a little bit of essentially here, along with that, and along the side of the packaging there. So it's basically your window is covered in the rain mist. You know, of course, you know you got your trees in the background, sunset, and then you got your mountains, you know, in the background as well. So essentially the same thing. So it's just kind of a quicker version of it. And then you have the Jurassic World Rebirth logo there, along with the Jurassic World logo right there. And then at the bottom, here's all your copyright information and logos, along with the instruction when it says one-time assembly. Once you insert the tail, one and done. Then we'll turn this mangly package around. It's all warped and uneven. So here on the back, you have that full picture of the T-Rex. And it says massive chomp. And of course, you know, it has that red arrow pointing down to let you know where to press the button. And then you have the Jurassic World logo Rebirth. Jurassic World Rebirth logo right there. And then you got continuation of the red striping and the black striping there. And of course, you know, with the window, the mist, you know, wet mist. And then you got the Lab Lockdown Tyrannosaurus Rex. And then, of course, you got the fax up information right there to let you know to look under the feet. So you scan it, you may. And then, of course, continuation of information with the Mattel logo right there. Alright, with that being done, let's go ahead and open this figure up, or take it out of the packaging, should I say, not open it up, and take a closer look at it. Alright, so quick information. Essentially, when you clip off the tie bands, you still got to have to open up at the bottom, because the feet, you know, this one's fine. This one, you know, I think that's got that little lock thing and then of course, you know, the tail, you know, locked in the back as well. So normally before, they would have like a cutout or a tear where you would kind of just like rip it open at the bottom, but you can't do that. I mean, you could if you really want to tear it open like that, but essentially here is the seam where you can just open up on the side and then go from there. So there really isn't no wrong or right way to open this. So you just gotta open it however you want to open it, you know. I'm not going to keep this packaging, so it doesn't matter to me. Alright, so I did open up from the side, and then I think this kind of just tore off on its own. So, just to kind of get an idea what you're looking at. So, you still got the other tie there at the bottom for the tail, and then of course, you know, you have the little twisty tab for the feet. So, just be aware, you know, just open it however you want to open it. Alright, so there it is in all its glory, fresh out the packaging with the tail inserted and everything. So I must say, this is probably the best, you know, T-Rex figure that Mattel has made for the main line, the basic line. Not basic, but you know, the main toy line, should I say. But the only downside is, you know, there's a couple of issues, you know, that I have. So I'll go ahead and get that out the way. The color scheme. So if you've seen the movie, you know that the different color scheme from the movie. If you haven't, I'm not going to spoil it to you because unless if you've seen the trailers and stuff, you know, then there you go. But eventually, this is the wrong coloration of the Rex. But I believe usually when we get figures from movie lines and stuff that Mattel does for upcoming movies, they pretty much have an idea or what the studio gives them as far as concept goes. So they pretty much go by that. And then, of course, you know, if it's the final product, they usually tend to re-release stuff with the final product, you know, that's shown up in the film, typically. But yeah, that's not the coloration. But it's still cool. I do like that coloration. You know, it's just not the one that's from the movie. Even though essentially it is the figure from the movie, but the coloration isn't. So, if you get my drift. And, of course, the teeth right there. One of the first things I noticed was the teeth. Why they wanted to add the back teeth, I have no idea. They don't have back teeth like that we know of, I should say. But as far as right now, at the time of this recording, they don't have back teeth like that. This could have been the perfect Rex figure, but somehow, every time Mattel likes to tend to screw something up. You know, if all the other Rexes that you've made in all the previous lines and movies and stuff don't have that, why would you add the back teeth like that all the way down to the I guess there's no such thing as a perfect figure. You just can't have it. That's why we can't have nice things, because we get screw-ups like that. So whoever did that, screw you. Why did you do that? But aside from those two things, the figure looks great. So I'm pretty sure this will be the standard figure going forward in future lines, but with different paint schemes. So I'm all for it. You know, I love my T-Rexes. I just have way too many of them. So, knowing me, I'm probably going to add more. I can't win. But aside from that, and of course, you know, while I am happy about this, but it just sucks at the same time, is that we finally got some paint on the claws. Not on the hands, but on the feet. But they skimped out the paint in the back right there. So they could have, as much as I want my toe claws painted, I'd rather have that go all the way down here, at least right here, because I know for a fact they would never go like you. It was very rare, like 1 out of every 300 figures they did, you might get one that's completed all the way down there. That's including the Hammond collection. But at least they could have had some paint, the striping to go at least right there, you know. Didn't have to go all the way down there, which would have been nice, but at least right here. Come on now. Ugh. This is why we can't have nice things again. But anyways, but overall, this is an amazing sculpt. I mean, look at that. The head sculpt is amazing. I mean, that's basically how it needs to be looking. So, back, the head, neck, all the wrinkles, creases, osteoderms. Looks wonderful. The eyes look like they're on point. So, very happy about that. You know, the teeth are fine. You know, I love the fact that the teeth, you know, I'm just surprised they didn't add more teeth all the way to the back of this thing. You know. But teeth look good, you know, with the exception of this ugly thing right there. These 3 teeth back here, why did they need to add that? Why? I don't know. I mean, okay, I get it right here. But when it closes, it needs to be stopped right there. Right there. Don't need those 3 back ones. Why they added that, I have no clue. Were they trying to flush the mouth out? I don't know. But yeah. Oh well, it is what it is. But overall, looks great. You know, I do like the fact that they got the tongue. Normally, all the other Rexes, they I guess they realized when the original, when they did Fallen Kingdom, which I have my original first purchase of the Rex, the tongue was all like this. But then I guess they had some issues with it or whatever. People didn't like it, so they managed to have the tongue down there at the bottom. But I do like the fact they didn't do that with this one, because it actually looks pretty good on this one. The other ones, it looked kind of weird. But yeah, so like I said, the body mold looks great. You know, look at that. The wrinkling, muscling, especially here in the hind legs, here on the stomach area right there, you know. Then here you got the little bit of airbrushing right there, the neck all the way down to the chest area right there. So here is the the fax app thing if you need it. Sorry about the little wonky. Try to focus. See if I can focus that better. For some reason it's not focusing. There we go. Alright, so if you need it, you can snapshot that thing and hopefully that works for you. If not, my apologies. So alright, that's too bright. Let's go. There we go. Alright, so but I do like the paint scheme, you know, get that striping all the way down here. And I like the fact that they started at the jaw here, the top of the jaw, get the airbrushing there, and then you got the striping pattern all the way down to the neck, all the way down here. And like I said, why can't you just at least get some on the tail? Even if you stopped here, let alone here. You know, that'd be great. But same old Mattel. But anyways, so yeah, the hind legs look great. You know, everything about it. It's a wonderful sculpt. So, like I said, I'm happy that we got the claws painted. But like paint on the tail is what kills me. Of course, you know, they had to skimp out on the dew claw. Couldn't get that, especially here on the hands. But overall, you know, aside from that, it's a great figure, you know. Of course, you know, the way of articulation on tails on that the hinge, you know. So get the range of motion there, up and down, side to side. So that's always good. And then the feet forwards, backwards, there, and then the hands are on a hinge right there, or the arms, not the hands. Forwards and backwards, in and out. Same thing with this, you know. It's on the hinge, forwards and backwards. And then, of course, this the head is on a ball, so that's always good. So look up right there, kind of look up down there, sideways. I like how it looks when it's looking on the side, so I do like that. That's pretty dope. So, and I like the fact they didn't add that little double neck thing like they did all the other figures. That was kind of atrocious. So I'm glad that they got they approved on the engineering design as far as when it comes to the ball of the neck, portion. Instead of having that ugly piece, that's on the neck and stuff. That was kind of an eyesore, to be honest. There was no need for that, but I'm glad they fixed that. So, and then of course, here is the button that you use to press to open the jaw up. So I do like that a lot. So, like I said, with the tongue sticking out like that, that didn't look too bad at all. It was just the other one was, I don't know, just looked atrocious, looked weird. So that's why they had to redesign that thing. All right, so with that being said, we are going to do some comparisons. Let me adjust this. So I'm going to bring out the T-Rex that I first purchased when Mattel took over the license for the Fallen Kingdom line. And this was from a 2-pack, the Battle Damage 2-pack. It came with the Monolophosaurus and whatnot. So here we are, somewhat 10 years later. No one would say 10 years later. I wish it would have been 10 years later. Since the 2018, I believe, when Fallen Kingdom came out. And so since the Fallen Kingdom, release of Fallen Kingdom back in 2018, this is one of the first Rex toys that we got, aside from that Legacy Collection one. And so this is my first pickup that I ever picked up for that particular line. This is from the Battle Damage Rex. So let's go ahead and scoot that back a little bit, kind of raise that up a little bit, kind of scoot that over. There we go. There you go. All right, so as you can tell, the difference as far as the sculpt goes, and see that little ugly neck piece right there? I don't know why they had that. That was kind of weird. So this is a whole lot better. I'd rather have that compared to that, but that's what you got at the time. And then you can tell by the feet. Look at the feet. Monstrous of feet compared to this. So, I mean, should have had that in the beginning. But, of course, then I understood the reasoning. But over time, you should think their engineering would be a lot better. But they always had to get the most use out of their mold, so let's use those monster feet. Instead of being able to downsize it a little bit. Like, it would have been fun. You could have still used the same molding, but man, just change the feet up a little bit. Shit, But I digress. But yes, but you could tell that how far along this sculpt is compared to this sculpt. When it comes to the two different Rexes, when it comes to the feet and the head sculpt, the engineering of the design. So, I mean, that's a little bit more fatty, it's more thin, So this is more of what you want as opposed with this. So, as you can tell, let me get this out the way so that way I can see the difference. So that might be a little too up close, but you can tell the difference of the head sculpt, the teeth, and everything. So there, now the body design, how different that looks, thin that is compared to that, and look at the neck thing. I'm glad they got rid of that. So, But yeah, and then the tail there. So, but this figure, this battle damage figure, holds a special place in my heart, anyways. So it's not going anywhere. As much as I gripe about it, and then you know what I was telling you about the ugly. Can it even open? I don't even think it. Well, I tried to open it. I guess it wore out. But anyway, so there's the design that they originally had that they got rid of when they decided to move the tongue down, as to compare to this one. You know, looks a lot better on this one, the new one. Alright, so let's go ahead and move this one aside. And I do want to bring out an OG figure. So this is the one that Hasbro did for the Jurassic Park 3 toy line. So I do like that, you know. Of course, that's from 2001. The Mattel one was from 2018. So you can tell how far advanced or how far they've fallen when it comes to the toy line. So, but this is still a good figure. This is one of the better ones I did for the Jurassic Park 3 line, you know. So this is kind of the OG when it comes to the scaling, you know. Even though it ain't no Red Rex or anything, it ain't no Kenner, but it does have its unique ability, you know, uniqueness to it. And so I do like that comparison, you know, not gonna lie. I think that's a great comparison. So, yep. Alright, so let's continue on. And then, let's see. The final comparison I want to bring out is the Spinosaurus. So, this is how it should be. So, in reality, as far when it comes to the movies, the Spinosaurus should be a little bit smaller, or the T-Rex should be a little bit bigger. Should at least be twice the size, you know. So I think that a larger T-Rex is probably, might be a little too big that they did. The Devour and Chomp T-Rex or something like that. The one that you press the back of the head and just does that chomping thing, but it always has its mouth open. That might be a little too big, but it needs, for as far as you want to be accurate with the movie, then that would probably be correct to scaling. You know, it might be a little too large, but as far as you want to be accurate, you know, if you don't want the Lab Lockdown. But on honesty, this is a great size. You know, I have no issue with this size comparison. I think it looks great. You know, both these figures are awesome. You know, they complement each other. You know, even though in reality the Spinosaurus is probably that big. You know, maybe a little bigger. But as far as movie wise goes, no. I mean, this was a whole lot bigger compared to a Spinosaurus. Spinosaurus was like maybe a third of that size smaller, maybe half the size. But yeah, the Rex in the Rebirth movie was large, way too big. But it's cool though, you know. But as far as toy scaling goes, this is great. You know, I think it's perfect. You know. All right, so let's move the Spino out the way, and let's go ahead and turn this thing around right here, because that curvature of the tail is what kind of gets in the way a little bit. Maybe I should have had it that way to begin with. Oh well. But so we are going to bring out a human comparison. So that's a good size scaling, though it needs to be bigger. But, if you want to be accurate, paleo accurate, that's about right. Maybe a little bit bigger. But as far as paleo accurate, that's pretty good size, But movie accurate, it needs to be a little bit bigger. At least twice as big. But, yeah, there we go. That is a nice comparison. All right, so that is it, everyone. Let me know what you think of this figure. I love this figure. It's a great figure besides its flaws here and there, but overall, I really like it. So let me know in the comments below what you think. And don't forget, words of wisdom: buy what you love and not what you like. If you buy what you like, you will always end up getting rid of it. And I will catch y'all later.